The global ocean freight market is quietly entering one of its most strategic phases in years. After several chaotic seasons defined by supply shocks, war risk premiums, and emergency surcharges, the pendulum has finally swung back toward shippers. Spot rates have fallen close to pre-crisis levels, carriers are facing pressure to fill capacity, and contract negotiations for 2026 have become a rare window to lock in long-term efficiency. Yet many companies risk repeating the same mistake as before. Fixing everything at the wrong time and paying for volatility they could have shared. In this video, we'll uncover what the latest research and industry data actually say about how to renegotiate your 2026 ocean contracts without overpaying, using insights from MIT's FreightLab, Transport Research Part E studies, and real procurement analytics from the field. Freight rates are not random numbers, they are the visible pulse of volatility, capacity balance, and behavioral economics between shippers and carriers. Academic studies analyzing indices like the CCFI and SCFI reveal a consistent lag between spot market shifts and long-term contract responses. When spot rates collapse, contract rates often stay artificially high for months because shippers lock in too early and carriers use historical peaks as reference points. The data from 2023 to 2025 shows that rates can move plus 30% within a single quarter, and the companies that overcommit early tend to absorb the downside. That's why in 2026, timing becomes strategy. The goal is not to guess the market bottom, but to engineer a contract that can breathe with it, absorbing fluctuations without reopening negotiations every few weeks. MIT's research on index-linked contracts and swing options offers a solution that is both elegant and practical. Instead of a single flat annual rate, you structure your ocean freight portfolio into three financial layers: a fixed base rate for stable lanes, an index-linked floating portion tied to recognized benchmarks like the CCFI or SCFI, and an optional swing band that lets you increase or decrease volumes within a pre-agreed margin. This hybrid model converts volatility into manageable exposure, essentially turning market risk into a cost you can budget. Academic models in Transportation Research Part E confirm that such portfolios reduce overpayment risk by up to 18% compared to fixed-only contracts. In a normalizing 2026 market, the companies that win will not be the ones negotiating the lowest price, but the ones designing flexibility into their agreements. Service reliability is part of the price. Reliability is not a soft metric, it is a hidden cost center. Multiple peer-reviewed studies on liner schedule reliability and delivery performance show that every delayed arrival adds measurable costs through emergency transport, safety, stock, and idle labor. Reliability is not a soft metric, it is a hidden cost center. Multiple peer-reviewed studies on liner schedule reliability and delivery performance show that every delayed arrival adds measurable cost through emergency transport, safety stock, and idle labor. Yet most shippers still negotiate purely on freight rate per container, ignoring the financial drag of inconsistent service. The academic consensus is clear. Reliability should be monetized. That means attaching credits or penalties to measurable on-time performance, such as arrival within plus or minus 1 calendar day of the pro forma schedule. By converting punctuality into a financial variable, you align incentives and reduce the real cost per TEU even if the nominal rate is higher. In 2026, the cheapest contract on paper may be the most expensive in practice if it comes with unpredictable dwell times. Demurrage and detention have quietly become the silent killers of freight budgets. Research from the World Maritime University and peer-reviewed case studies in 2023 and 2024 revealed that for some shippers, D&D charges exceeded 15% of total ocean costs, often triggered by billing ambiguity rather than operational delay. When negotiating 2026 contracts, shippers should treat D&D not as an operational afterthought, but as a financial risk instrument. The academic literature proposes 3 key safeguards: clearly defined free time by port, hard caps on total per-box liability, and pause-the-clock rules for uncontrollable disruptions like customs holds or terminal congestion. By turning D&D from a reactive penalty into a documented governance term, you can eliminate one of the most common sources of overpayment and post-contract conflict. Overpaying rarely happens lane by lane. It happens when shippers ignore how carriers see their networks. Research by Kaplis and Sheffy on combinatorial freight auctions demonstrates that carriers can deliver lower total costs when allowed to bid for bundles of lanes that match their natural repositioning flows. Traditional single-lane bidding, in contrast, forces carriers to price uncertainty and inefficiency into every offer. Optimization-based procurement, supported by mathematical models and implemented by many global logistics leaders, lets both parties exploit network synergies. The lesson for 2026 is simple: don't run old-fashioned spreadsheet tenders, use structured bids that allow carriers to show where they can be most efficient. The result is not just lower unit rates but a higher probability of service stability, because the contract aligns with how the network actually works. A well-structured 2026 contract functions like a hedge portfolio, each component covering a different kind of uncertainty. The fixed base secures predictable cost for steady lanes. The index-linked sleeve absorbs macro volatility, automatically adjusting with public indices without triggering full renegotiation. The swing option covers volume uncertainty, letting you flex demand by 20% in either direction at preset premiums or discounts. Collectively, these instruments mimic derivatives but remain embedded in commercial contracts. Academic modeling shows that such layered structures not only cut average freight spend but also stabilize working capital cycles, because cash outflows align with revenue timing instead of speculative rate swings. For financial controllers and logistics managers, this means fewer budget shocks and more credible forecasts. All these mechanisms depend on trustable data. Research on digital integration and visibility confirms that API-based milestone reporting significantly reduces exception cost and improves on-time metrics. When shippers and carriers share data in near real time, the contract transforms from a static document into a living performance system. For 2026, consider building data-sharing clauses that specify automatic ETA updates, event timestamps, and monthly KPI dashboards. With academic evidence linking information transparency to cost efficiency and reliability gains, the data feed becomes as valuable as the freight itself. Transparency doesn't just verify service, it enforces it, eliminating ambiguity when performance or penalties are disputed. The phrase, "don't overpay," is not a call to chase the lowest number. It's a principle of risk allocation backed by over 2 decades of freight contract research. Scholars in transportation economics repeatedly show that the optimal contract minimizes expected regret, not necessarily expected cost. In other words, the best outcome balances savings and flexibility, ensuring that no matter how the market moves, you're never on the wrong side of the curve. With 2026 shaping up as a year of both normalization and regulatory expansion, EU ETS surcharges, carbon pricing, and service differentiation, those who integrate academic insights into negotiation strategies will convert uncertainty into a competitive advantage. When you sit down to renegotiate your 2026 contracts, think less like a buyer and more like a portfolio manager. Every clause you add, index linkage, swing option, reliability credit, D&D cap, a micro investment in stability, back every demand with evidence. Quote FreightLab's research on index performance, reference peer-reviewed studies on reliability economics, and demonstrate through data how previous D&D charges inflated total cost. The negotiation then becomes rational, evidence-driven, and future-proof. By speaking the language of risk rather than emotion, you position yourself as a strategic partner rather than a price chaser, which often earns better long-term rates and service priority. The bottom line is that 2026 is not simply another buying season, it's the year when ocean contracting becomes a science of flexibility, transparency, and measurable value. Those who continue to rely on outdated one-year fixed rates will face cost creep as the market rebounds. Those who apply the portfolio logic of modern freight contracts will pay less on average, achieve higher reliability, and spend far less time firefighting invoices and disputes. The academic consensus has never been clearer. The future of freight procurement belongs to data-driven, risk-sharing contracts. In logistics, efficiency doesn't mean paying less, it means paying right. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you found it helpful and insightful. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to logisticsABC. Turn on notifications so you never miss out on future videos. Check out the recommended videos here for more great content. Thanks for being part of the logisticsABC community, and see you in the next video.